Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Force India career mode, then round number 8 in Baku. And there's been a big patch since the last time we played. It's influenced a lot of different things, but the main thing for career is that it's changed the car performance. So the biggest difference to our competitors is Williams are now really back in the pack, and we're completely outright the fourth quickest car. I don't think we're any closer to the top 3 teams, but it means that fourth place that we're in at the moment in the constructors is now completely where our car performance are. We were a little bit behind Williams, but it's just dropped Williams right back into the pack. So we have, as agreed, put the difficulty up 3 points. So it's now up to 93. We will see how we get on with that. We can always put it up a bit more. Just a note on that, the most irritating way to have to change difficulty in career mode, you have to do it while the game is loading. You can't change it once it gets into the menu of the career mode. Very strange way to do it. If anyone's had trouble with that, that's how you do it, because it took me blooming ages to work that out. So we have got difficulty up a little bit. We've had to make quite a lot of changes to the power unit all the way through practice. So I always try and get away with using the most worn parts possible, considering how quickly we seem to be getting through these units. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be a McLaren, to do a career mode as a McLaren with this new system. Because honestly, even with the Mercedes engine, the best unit, we're going to have to start taking new engine parts by about halfway point of this season. And I know that can be affected by upgrades, but still, the Mercedes power unit really shouldn't go this quickly. But anyway, we got through practice, got most of the points as per usual. No upgrades we can do this time. We do have a rear wing change coming for next race. But we're given a new rival after we beat Perez in the form of Daniel Ricciardo. Especially with the difficulty upgrade, I think it's going to be pretty difficult to beat him or beat any of the 3 teams ahead of us. But we will see. But as we get through to qualifying then, and it started to rain a little bit, which I don't mind too much. I enjoy the rain. And the AI always seems to be a little bit slower than they should be. I don't know why it's been the case on every game so far. I don't really know why the AI are always that little bit slower than they need to be. But anyway, that being said, we only get through in 12th. We, by the way, had to take a bunch of new power unit parts because some were getting so worn. We have got a very worn internal combustion engine because we were already on our 3rd internal combustion engine, and it's, I think, about 60% before I started qualifying, so really not in good shape at all. But we'll have to go forward with it because we need to try and get as many races as we can out of each part. Because as I've said before, I'm okay with taking penalties. I really don't want to be taking tons of them. So we're going to try and minimise it as much as we can. But anyway, as we go into qualifying 2 now, we got an intermediate lap in early on, but then the track dried out for the last couple of minutes of the session, and we managed to get a time in on the super softs, which I think got us through in 8th place. So we get through nicely. Sergio Perez showing incredible pace in his car, showing that we, for some reason, have made a big step forward. This wasn't just a freak thing as well. This is a trend that's going to continue through to the race as well. And because of our engine issues, or having an old engine, and I think there's one other part that's pretty old as well, it means that we're going to struggle in comparison to Perez this weekend, but the pace that Perez showed is great. So hopefully we can have good weekends from now on. But anyway, as always, I shall let you have a lap of Baku in qualifying 3.
Slower than Sergio. We're slower than Sergio. Sergio's in P4 at the moment.
So as we come up to the line then, it's been a much better lap than we've managed all weekend. And it's going to be good enough for 6th place on the grid. And I thought I would surely have out-qualified my teammate. No. Sergio Perez, again, having a stunning lap and gets himself 4th place on the grid. This doesn't really make much sense to me. The adjustments have only been made to Williams around us. And we're no closer to the front three. But somehow... we've got an epic car this weekend, so let's get on to the race.
Anthony Davidson joins me today as we look ahead to something just a little bit different. It's quite high speed for a street circuit here, isn't it? Do you think that's going to throw up any unexpected situations?
Well, as long as the teams can keep everything cool, I don't foresee any particular big issues from a technical side of things. I do expect the track to be quite slippery though. We've not exactly had much chance to rubber in the surface. Any street circuit also comes with its own challenges, so I think we'll be seeing a few mistakes here and there. The smart strategy would be to expect a safety car, I think, especially early on when the pack is bunched up.
So the strategies for the race then is a 1 or a 2 stop. 1 is going to be preferable round here. It is a high-speed track, but especially with our engine issues, we're not going to be cruising past people on the straights, so... 2 stop would involve way too much overtaking and it's quite a bit slower anyway. So the 1 stop is what we're going to go for. So starting 6th, we've got Ricciardo ahead of us. Verstappen is out of position a few places back. And Vettel is a long way out of position, about 14th place. So expect him to come back through later on in the race.
Keep an eye on the lights.
But it's promising, even with our engine issues and our gearbox is a little bit worn as well. Hopefully both me and Perez can have a good race. I've no idea why we're so much more competitive considering it was only Williams that have been dropped down. But anyway, we will see how we can get on and see if we can make any places up in the opening corners as we're underway for round number 8 in Baku then. Pretty average start compared to everybody around us. The second phase is a lot better than the Red Bull of Ricciardo next to us as we try to take a look down the inside into turn 1. Think better of it. Verstappen already passed Massa into 7th, and we take a big Daniel Ricciardo style lunge on Daniel Ricciardo down into turn 2, and the superior force India engine at this stage anyway is enough to drag us just above Ricciardo down to turn 3 then, and it's a very good start. Made up 1 position. Perez just ahead of us, and as we almost go into the back of Perez towards the end of the lap, everything's looking pretty good, but we get a pretty overeager entry into the penultimate turn, and that's going to enable Ricciardo to get tucked up right behind us. And now is the first sort of inkling that not all is going to be okay with the straight line speed of this car today, because there is no way, even with a slipstream, that without DRS Ricciardo should be able to pull up and alongside us like this. Not with this Mercedes engine. You can see how far Perez is ahead already, and it's going to be Ricciardo that makes his style lunge then down into turn 1, and we have to concede that place back basically. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to say now, this is as far forward as we are for the rest of the race. As we go on to lap 5 now, we've dropped quite a way back from Hamilton in front of us, who's actually been overtaken by Ricciardo. Verstappen behind us, we seem to be able to keep pace ahead of him. So maybe Verstappen has a problem this time as we see Hamilton and Ricciardo continuing their scrap ahead. But as you can see from the engine now, the ICE is up to almost 80% already. And we're losing probably 4 or 5 miles an hour at this stage down the straight. And honestly, the first stint was so boring that we're going to go to our teammate Sergio Perez, who's making a move on Valtteri Bottas, has already made a move on Valtteri Bottas to take 3rd place. And then the very next lap, he's going to do exactly the same to Valtteri Bottas, to Lewis Hamilton. Or it might be Bottas, one of the two. He's passed both of them anyway. And battling it out here, he tries to keep it round the outside of, it is Bottas. Bottas just about gets the better of him, but with the DRS once again, Perez is able to get all the way alongside and then outbrake the Finnish driver down into turn 3. And the point of this, well, it's a bit of entertainment because my stint was so boring, but also showing the pace of this car for some reason. Whether it's just this track, we're going to have to see next time out, or over the next few races. Whether there's something strange that's happened that's not showing up on the car performance, but it seems to be an awful lot quicker than it was. So we'll keep an eye on that, but as we go on to lap 10 now, we're going to come into the pits for our one and only stop, providing there are no safety cars or issues with our car. And again, we've just been able to maintain that gap back to Verstappen, but the front 5 have got well away by this point. And unfortunately, our engine and our straight line speed is only going to get worse at this stage. So we're going to come in, put on the soft tyres, which should easily get us to the end of the race. And I had a strange issue the whole of this recording with my clutch. As you can see, I was stationary for an awful long time there. But we're going to get back out in about 14th place anyway. You can see the Red Bull of Ricciardo and the Mercedes of Hamilton ahead there, as we almost lose it coming out of the pits. And by the end of that lap, we've closed right up to the back of Jolyon Palmer. Be aware, Jolyon, the car on your inside, it is a street track. We decided to bug out of that one though. And I feel bad making Palmer memes anymore, you know, now that he's gone. He doesn't get a Williams drive. It is sad. He was a great GP2 champion. Just for some reason couldn't cut it in F1. But we did finally make that move then on Palmer. And it's going to be crucial as we try to get out ahead of... And I thought maybe it was Raikkonen, but it's not. It's Vettel who has come all the way back through the field. And this also means that Verstappen is now ahead of us, as you can see. So we're really, really struggling for pace here. And that little bit of time lost behind Palmer as well didn't help. But now, yeah, the problems are getting worse. And you're going to find out here just how slow we are in a straight line. Yes, there's DRS from the Ferrari, but it's as easy as you like taking candy from a baby. For Vettel, as he just swoops past, and he's got the move done well before the braking zone. And unfortunately, just before this, we'd lost second gear. So as we come down into turn 2 now, you're going to see I get a very nasty shock. As I look for third, and it just stops on a dime almost, as it goes down to second instead of third. And I was really fearing for even getting any points at this stage of the race. We've been warned that the team cannot fix it, but by the very next corner, it's back. So I'd lost it for about half a lap, and then it's come back, and it fortunately stayed fixed for the rest of the race. But it's lost us some time to Vettel, and with our straight line speed, and I've got to say being a little bit slow on this track in comparison. We're just not going to be able to go forward, unfortunately. So we're on to lap 17 now. And that gap to Vettel is almost 10 seconds now. And Massa is slowly closing on us, but fortunately the Williams driver for some reason opted for the medium tyres. Not the best strategy today, to be honest. But we're hopeful that we can at least hold on to this 8th place. But as we go on to a couple of laps later, this is Grosjean getting past Massa. I told you my race wasn't that interesting. We're watching other people today. Grosjean sweeps past on the soft tyres. The Williams team have got to know they were on the wrong strategy at this point. And it took another 4 or 5 laps for Grosjean to catch us, but catch us he did. At this point, we're almost at 90% on the internal combustion engine, and our gearbox is over 80% as well. And just look at this overspeed from the Haas. This is why we're almost 15 seconds off the front runners at this point, because we just have no straight line speed. And this being not a conventional street track, it's very heavy on acceleration and top speed at different points, and it was just something that we couldn't get round. We couldn't hustle the car around enough to make up that kind of difference today. And Grosjean almost a couple of seconds was ahead of us by the end of the next lap as we finish the race then. And we're going to cross the line. It's still some points. 9th is still a couple of points. Really happy with how the car seems to be. The car was great in qualifying. I think we're just going to have to pick our battles a little bit during the middle of the season. We are going to have to take a few new engines, and we've got to choose that wisely. Austria coming up might be a good plan for that, as Sergio Perez actually relegated to 6th. We were told over the radio that he had a problem as well with his car. So he more than likely would have done a lot better than that. But Bottas wins the race from Raikkonen and Hamilton. And we'll go over the engine situation a little bit at the end. But let's just go through the results for the moment then. So Vettel, incredibly, from 13th on the grid, recovers to 4th. Verstappen takes 5th as Ricciardo also had engine issues. You can see he was only about 7 seconds ahead of us by the end of the race. So a lot of people, that's my only sort of saving grace with the engine situation, is the AIs do seem to be pretty heavily affected by it as well. So anything could happen to our competitors at any time, which is what I really like about them putting this system in. But it means in the championship we move a couple points ahead of Massa, a couple of points further clear, and Sergio Perez now goes level with the Brazilian. So after a really bad few opening races, Perez is looking like he's really going to be a challenge for us to beat this season. And again, we're just concreted in that 4th place. Maybe if our car performance continues, we might be able to challenge Red Bull, but we need to get a move on pretty quickly. But of course, Williams, with Stroll not really scoring any major points, aren't really a threat at this point in time. So just a quick thing on that engine thing then before we finish. We're going to have to pick our battles. We're going to have to look for tracks that A, have got a lot of straights, and B, have got a lot of overtaking opportunities. That way it sort of minimises it twice. So you take a new engine, and when you take a new engine, you may as well take all the new engine parts, because you're going to get a penalty no matter what. Although I think it's only a 5-place penalty, so it depends how far you want to be put back. But I think when we take them, we will take them all at the same time, and just go to the back of the grid, and then we've got a whole new set of engine parts to play with. And then it needs to be a track we can overtake well on, and if it's got long straights, having those new engine parts is going to be helpful anyway. So we're going to have to do that. I might do that next time out in Austria, because I'm really hopeful of our chances there, and if there's one track I feel confident of being able to come back through the field, at least for the next 4 or 5 races, that would be it. Then at least we get an extra engine into circulation, and it will ease our problems a little bit. But that's going to be it from today. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to keep to a minimum of 1 a week. I'm going to try and get them a little bit more regular, but even in this cut down formula, they're taking a little bit longer than they used to. But yeah, expect the next one at the latest of next week. But I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, hit that like button if you have, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you again next time.